Welcome to For All Seasons. This is our sports show that usually Drew Rubenstein, the sports editor of the Dominion Post, and I, Dave Raese, the publisher of the Dominion Post, speak about things concerning all sports. But Drew is down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana with the women's basketball team at Western University, basking in probably a lot better weather and having some Cajun food and listening to Zydeco music or whatever they play with that big accordion. So he's having a better time, and meanwhile we're stuck with each other. And so since I'm on my own, I thought I'd go on a little bit about maybe some coaching antics have been going on in basketball and stuff like that. And I want to start with praising Coach Roy Williams from the University of North Carolina. I imagine most people probably watched the game with Iowa State and North Carolina that went down to the last 1.6 seconds when Iowa State made a game-winning basket. North Carolina had the ball, but they only had 1.6 seconds left. They threw it in bounds. The North Carolina player dribbled across half court and tried to call timeout, but by that time, there wasn't any time left on the clock. Unfortunately, the big problem is that when North Carolina inbounded the pass, they didn't start the clock. And it probably went 1.6 seconds before they even signaled timeout. So after much review at the officials, by the officials and stuff, they conferred with both coaches. And I think then they told them the game was over. Well, you expected maybe a coach to start arguing with the officials, but Roy Williams just turned to the coach from Iowa State, extended his hand and shook it and patted him on the back, and then went on and shook the players' hands. He accepted the decision by the officials, which was correct. As a true gentleman, he accepted defeat as a true gentleman. It was a great basketball game. And those are the kind of things that I remember out of coaching or any type of athletic experience. So sometimes it's not if you win, but how you handle things and how you handle defeat or disappointments and things like that. And I can't think of anybody who could handle that any better than how Roy Williams did. And you just gain a lot of respect for coaches that do that. You've compared to something like with Syracuse, where Syracuse lost to Duke down in Durham, North Carolina earlier this year. And Jim Boeheim, they had all over on ESPN about him jumping up and down, tearing his coat off, acting like a 4-year-old doing a tantrum, which essentially cost his team the game because Duke then was awarded 2 foul shots for the double technicals and also the ball. And there was 10 seconds left in the game when that call was made, when the Syracuse player drove toward the basket and had a collision with the Duke player, and the call went against Syracuse, obviously. And it was 50-50 in my book. And I thought, no, that's just ridiculous. Here's a man who's already won 700 basketball games. This is just another game. What's the difference? Why would you get so upset on something like that? It just doesn't make sense to me. So I really give Roy Williams credit. And I think that universities, athletic directors, and presidents should start schooling their coaches, saying, hey, look, we need to tone this stuff down. The swearing, the hollering at the officials and the players and things like that, it's not the way it's supposed to be done. You're taught in business and management that you praise in public and you scold in private. And to berate players or officials in public places like that, I just don't think it's the thing that should be done. It doesn't set a good example. And so I'm glad that Roy Williams set a great example yesterday of accepting something he couldn't control. It was very disappointing, and he accepted it like a man and like a sportsman. And I just thought North Carolina should be very proud of their basketball team and their basketball coach, even though they lost. So that's about all I have for this with Drew not here. So we'll see you next week, and maybe if we're lucky, Drew will still be on the road following the West Virginia women's basketball team until they come back with that NCAA title. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.